Welcome in to All Things. We are glad to have you back with us for another episode. Today is a great day to talk about all things education, a topic very near and dear to my heart. And with us, I have a great friend that is also very near and dear to my heart. We are happy to have Miss Jessica Massey on the pod with us today. So welcome, Miss Massey.
I'm so excited to be here.
We are excited for another episode. We're excited for another guest. And for those of you out there listening, this episode's being recorded here on what's known as Good Friday, and right here before Easter time. And it's appropriate that Miss Massey, as she was originally known to our family, is here with us. She was Vaughn's first grade teacher at Harmony Grove, and he's a fifth grader now. And Vaughn, when he was in her class, invited her and her family to come to our Easter play to see him in the Easter program. I think he was a donkey.
He was some kind of animal.
He was an animal in the play, had a real big part. So thank you for coming. And you guys have been a part of the church ever since.
Yes.
And I always say Easter service was your first Sunday, and the next year your husband, for the next couple of years, was Jesus in the Easter play.
That's
so
right.
that's no small task, but we love the Massey family.
Yes, and Cornerstone has been so blessed to have the Masseys on board. So, Sister Jessica, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a second grade teacher at Harmony Grove Elementary. I've been teaching for 13 years. I'm married to Jimmy. He is a barber at Deluxe Barber Shop.
The town barber.
The town barber.
Took care of all of our boys this week.
Yes, he did.
Got them ready for Easter.
And we have two wonderful children. Kylie Kay is 19. She is a freshman at Arkansas Tech. And Henson is a fourth grader at Harmony Grove. Go Hornets.
Henson and Vaughn are tight.
Yes.
They're buddies.
So we've been working on something, Miss Massey's been working on something that we wanted to share with our audience today, and it's complete the phrases. So sometimes we do little games like this to start the podcast, but she's been collecting some of her second grader responses to complete the common phrase. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Born ready.
Let's do this. I hope you enjoy these. Better late than
Sorry.
All right. Somebody else thought a penny saved.
Saved our money.
Saved our money, yeah.
All right. This one's interesting. Children should be seen
And not lost.
You know
Very
what?
true.
They got and not,
Yeah.
because it is and not heard. So they got that
They
part.
had that part.
All right, the
But
next
nothing
one.
worse than a lost child.
That's so true. The next one. Children should be seen.
And not playing an iPad.
All right, a bird in the hand.
Pecs forever.
Never underestimate.
The power of God.
Was it never underestimate the power or never underestimate? Did I say it wrong?
I think it is never underestimate the power
Okay, never underestimate the power
of God.
of God.
Of God.
This is great. The bigger they are.
The smaller they get.
That's right.
Okay, and last one. She pulled the wool.
And pulled the sheep.
Ouch.
I'm proud they know where wool comes from.
True.
Bet that
So-
sheep let out a noise.
Bah. So we always like to start with a little bit of a would you rather question. And so I found some would you rather questions that are school related. So today, and I want all the audience to think about this, think about your school days. Would you rather have your school begin earlier in the day and get out later, begin earlier and get out earlier, and I said that wrong, or arrive later but be released later? So an earlier start time, earlier release time, or a later start time, later release time. Which one would you prefer, Mike?
Well, it depends on how close we are. If we're talking an hour, I'd probably say earlier.
Yeah.
If we're talking about say noon to 9 o'clock in the evening shift, no way.
No, I think we're talking
No,
about
no,
like
no.
an hour and a half
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh boy, I don't know. I'd probably go earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it over with.
When I was a student, I would have definitely gone earlier, but now as the parent, I think I'm pushing them to go. I think I would go the other way. I would want them to go later and
Let
get
them
home
sleep
later.
in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Miss Massey, what's your answer?
Later.
Go
For
later.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one. Would you rather have to write a paper or give a presentation?
Oh, for me, all day long. Well, I kind of do both, but I'd rather give the presentation
Yeah. Me
than
too.
write the paper that I'm graded on. My writings, when I do present, are probably not gradable.
I liked writing until we started having to format.
Yeah.
It was MLA when I was in high school and college. I don't know what it is anymore. I don't think it's the same, but yeah.
Who knew you had to cite sources?
I could
too?
put out. I could put out a
plagiarism?
paper real fast when I was in school, but anymore, I guess I would just want to present. So, I forgot to
I would write the paper all
write
day
the
long.
paper. Yeah,
Would it get an A?
that's a teacher answer.
Possibly.
Possibly. Okay.
So the Sheltons believe in education. That's one of our Shelton rules. Actually, it's rule number 4. Sheltons go to college and graduate.
Graduate.
And we're not talking about it doesn't have to be traditional college. We're not trying to push our kids to go get any certain type of degree or certain number of degrees, but training and credentials are important.
It's important to be skilled at something.
That's right.
If you're a carpenter, be a good one. Whatever you do.
That's right. The Bible talks about people who built the temple were skilled craftsmen. I said this in a session we were teaching a couple weeks ago. There's revival coming for the kingdom, and revival needs financiers. And I want my children, when they're grown, to be able to be a part of financing whatever even if they're not, even if they move away and they're not at our church anymore, wherever they're at, I want them to be able to look at their pastor and say, I want to help be a part of this. How can I help move this?
I want to move this forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, speaking of biblical times, Hebrew boys went to the synagogue to learn scripture, and the Bible was the textbook. So, and it of course, not the Bible that we have now, but the scriptures from the Torah would have been what they sat down and studied every day. So, school has been going on a long time. So that's my first question that we're just going to kind of discuss. Why do we think school has worked for this long? It still looks very much the same as it did several hundred years ago.
I think one of the reasons it's worked for so long is it's a consistent structure for learning and growth. And all these different backgrounds are coming together and they're getting a shared foundation, not just academically, but socially, emotionally. And it's preparing them to be responsible and manage their time, work with others, develop habits, and that they're going to carry into adulthood. It just makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, certainly schools evolved over time. I remember, I think it was 7th grade, 8th grade when I took my first keyboarding class. And now I don't know at what point in elementary school they get Chromebooks and they get, these laptops and computers. Of course, you can see toddlers 2, 3, 4 years old that can operate iPads and iPhones better than us. And so the learning styles have changed a little bit, but that's the word I had in my mind was the consistency of teaching them and the realization that they need to be taught at an early age is one of the reasons why it's worked for so long. So I certainly agree.
Yeah.
And with that answer there.
That's a good answer. So school has worked and worked well for so long, but what about school, in our very humble opinions, needs to be updated or changed? What are some things that we could do better on?
You want to tackle that one first or me?
Well, if there's something that I would love to see change is how we define success and what we choose to prioritize.
That's good.
Right now, so much of our system is built around standardization. We have the same tests, same benchmarks, same goals, same expectations for each and every child, yet God created everybody different. We're all unique. We're all going to learn differently, but still we're forcing everybody into this mold. So we need flexibility. They need more space to be creative and be curious and think. And if we want to shift how that's going to happen, we've got to help them learn to think, because that is the other change I would like to see. I see it every year, and I know that's wild to think, but I see every year kids can't think anymore. They don't know how to think.
Oh, yeah. I see it.
And it's not
Problem
because they
solve.
aren't
Yeah.
smart. They're smart. They haven't been taught how to think.
So maybe we need to change the way that we assess their growth
Yes.
and their learning.
Yes.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Not a political statement, but
Right.
what I've seen from a parental point of view, Emma was created for the school setting that she's in, sitting at a desk, listening, being still, writing, learning. I have 3 boys. That
Not
it's
so much.
Not so.
Right.
The sitting still is difficult. The not talking is difficult. The environment and realizing that they shouldn't all be in the same mold. I don't know what that looks like. That's obviously well above my pay grade. But it's like, why do we force them all into this box?
Yeah.
Right.
When we all realize we're all unique, we're all different, but we've in the school system, the education system, we've not been very creative at helping navigate different personalities, different learning styles and methods, the boy and girl, differences. And so that's something I've always kind of looked at as unique, and with the boys and some of the things they've struggled with. I'm like, they're not built to sit still. They can't do that at home either. So there's a learning curve there. So I think there could certainly be some updates and changes. Maybe that's
Yes.
coming.
So, speaking of our boys, and I know they are not alone, we have a large number of students who do not get up in the morning and just super excited about school. I would even say they may dislike school. Now, our boys have a lot of things about school that they do like.
They love PE.
They
They
love-
love lunch. They love lifting weights.
They love the social part of it.
Yeah.
And they are good boys, and they, I don't want to say that they hate school, but we have kids in your town, wherever you're at, in this town, everywhere across America that genuinely do hate school. So what is something that we as educators, so Miss Massey and I are both educators, and we're all in this room parents, what can we do to help that? Miss Massey, I'll let you go first.
Well, I feel fortunate that the students I work with are still at an age where they genuinely love school. For the most part, they're excited to be there. They love their teachers. It's just a sweet spot. But it's really important for families at home to be mindful of how they talk about school at home. Because the kids that I teach in those elementary years, they're sponges and they're listening to everything. And a lot of times they're picking up the attitudes from older siblings, parents, overhearing the adults talk at home about the school or the teachers or the staff. And sometimes that influence can be more negative than we really realize. And like one thing I do with Henson to kind of control the narrative about how we talk about school and his teachers and his classmates and everything is we always say on the ride home, I say, what was the best part of your day? And it's just a simple little question, but it shifts the focus to something positive about his day. It gives him a chance to reflect on the good stuff. It might give me a chance to celebrate his win or celebrate his teacher or some other school administrator, whatever it is, just giving a positive turn on his day. And another thing that I try to make a point to do is when we pray for his teachers, pray for his school, pray for the administrators in front of him so that he knows that these are people that we care about and that we respect and that they care about us too and that they, we're going to respect them.
That's awesome.
That's excellent. Yeah.
So that was part of my answer too, is parents help direct the narrative at home about school, and you're not going to agree with every decision your child's teacher or your child's administration ever makes, but you should not let them be privy to that conversation. And another thing about parental narrative is I've had so many parents come to my classroom on parent-teacher conference. I don't miss those, by the way. I miss meeting the parents, but I don't miss hashing out, oh, yeah, they're missing this assignment. They're missing this assignment. So my new job, I don't have to do parent-teacher conference. But anyway, I would have a lot of parents come and say, well, I'm not surprised to see that their math score is low because I never was good at math when I was in high school. I failed math too. Well, you're just giving your kid a green light to say, oh, well, my parents can't do math, so guess I can't either.
So no point in me to even try.
Yeah, that's so backwards. Mathematical ability is not inherited. You don't have a math gene that just is there or not. Like mathematical ability or problem solving is developed just like any other skill. So help your child. If you struggled in school, I wouldn't even tell your kid. I would find a way to say all the things, like you were saying, all the positive things about your school experience.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's something, looking back on my childhood, that I could say my parents were really good at. Never speaking negatively about the teacher, the administration, and beyond that, the coach, the pastor on Sundays. If you want your child to respect adult A, B, C, build them up, speak positively about them. And it's difficult to talk negatively about somebody you're praying for.
That's so true.
You said, you're praying for their teacher, praying for the administrator. It's difficult to, have harbor bitterness and angst against those people, and they're no good, sorry, sucker. When you've been praying for them, and I think the Lord helps us all there. But I think that's so true for all of us to build them up and to control the narrative a little bit.
That's good. So also, I would say for parents, for anybody, appreciate the gift that is education. Education is a gift, and we live in a country that entitles every child to a free and appropriate public education, and that is something to be thankful for. Knowledge is power. From a parent's perspective, an education helps my kid to have a more prosperous future. But as in the pastoral role, I see how an education benefits an individual who's living for God to go deeper in their calling in the kingdom, to have more training, more skills, and to even study the Word, to enjoy its richness. If you've dissected some text in a lit class, that really helps you to read the Bible and appreciate the beauty and the complexity of God's Word. So just one more parental point of view, making good decisions is another benefit of education. We know problem solving, we've already referenced it, is a skill that we desperately need. So no matter who you are or what you do, someone who has learned to persevere through some tough problems and had to employ critical thinking, that's going to help them as an adult. So the next time your kid's struggling through a math problem, let them. Don't talk them out of it. Don't just, say, well, you can get it tomorrow. Like, encourage that struggle and realize that's good for them.
Yeah, I think, for me, I'm thankful for a doctor that's well educated.
Absolutely.
When I go and get my hair cut from
Right.
your husband, Brother Jimmy, I'm thankful he's trained and he's not, let's just see what I can do with your head.
Let's see how this
your
goes.
hair. Let's just see how this goes. So I was in there earlier, and a guy I knew was sitting in the barber chair, and he got finished and walked out. And I said, I could have cut your hair for half the cost he just charged you, but I have no skill. I have no training. So you sometimes get what you pay for, but it's if I have an insurance question, I want to go talk to somebody that knows insurance. If I'm sick, I want to go to somebody that's studied and invested in that. Now, I'm leading into something here, and I know we're not doctors, but I want to ask the teachers in the room, because it's something we hear about in the news, we hear about it in the media, and so I'm a little curious. Just we don't have to go deep into this. Obviously, we're none of us are experts here, but you both have been in a classroom long enough. Can you see a parallel with malnutrition and education and there being leading to struggles, and then I'll also sleep.
Yeah.
Kids that get a good amount of sleep, moms and dads that keep them up all night or put them to bed at night. Can you see some
Absolutely.
parallels there?
I'll say first that I noticed the sleep probably on my end more because I think even students who have access to good nutrition, teenage students, they still eat garbage. They still eat like trash. So I don't probably notice the nutrition factor maybe as much as you, Jessica, but the sleep for sure. I can always tell, and they're usually pretty honest with you about it when you say, "Hey, what's going on?" Well, I didn't get off my game till 2 or 3 last night. I just got caught up in it, and it absolutely makes a difference in their disposition, their demeanor, their ability to get what they need at school for that day. So, yes, sleep is very key.
Yeah.
Everyone has unique perspectives on education. I know my background, I was in a very small school, moved in the 7th grade, in the middle of the year, from a class of about 50 to a class of over 300. It was a difficult transition. My wife, on the other hand, was the opposite and was at a much larger school and moved to a small school and was ahead and advanced.
Yeah.
So I know we've all got our own unique perspectives, and I know my wife's going to ask a few questions of the educator in the room. And visit with you.
Let me go ahead and pivot to those questions that are specifically to you, Miss Massey. So I want you to tell us, for anybody in the listening audience that is thinking about becoming an educator, tell us your trajectory. How did that look for you to becoming an educator?
Well, all growing up, elementary years, young girl years, I looked up to my Sunday school teachers and my school teachers, and that's what I wanted to be. If you would have asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was always a teacher. But fast forward to senior year in high school, and there's no way I'm sticking in school any longer than I have to. I couldn't imagine going to school to be in school any longer. So I started college in Magnolia at SAU. My major was psychology.
Wow.
And college was a wake-up call for Miss Massey. And I'm going to be real transparent because this is a struggle that students have. It was a struggle I had. I wasn't prepared how hard college was going to be, and it was new and overwhelming, and I didn't know how to study, and I was homesick and insecure, and I just felt lost. So my grades reflected that, and I lost my scholarship.
Oh, yeah,
And
it
I
happens.
moved home. So, but I share that because it could happen, and I was very shocked that it happened to me, but it did.
Sure.
But it all worked out. My mom worked at SAU Tech, and I enrolled there next, and I loved it there. I felt at home. I got my confidence back. I graduated from there with my associates and began the very next day working at a local insurance agency, and that was just kind of going to be a temporary gig while I figured out what I was going to do next. And I stayed there for 10 years. I was a licensed life and health insurance agent. But during that 10 years, my mom called me one day, and I remember it so vividly. She said, "Well, your dream's about to come true." SAU Magnolia is partnering with SAU Tech, and they're going to offer a non-traditional program, teacher track, to get your education degree.
that's great.
And so I started, and it was really hard because I continued to work full time. So I was going to college at night and online. And after that, and being a wife and a mama and about to lose it, that was the first time in my life that I really had to just say, you know what, God, I surrender this to your will. This is all yours. You've got to take this for me because this is really hard. And he brought me through it like he's brought me through everything since. And I graduated and I began teaching kindergarten
Wow.
in 2013. That was my first job. I had 14 little boys.
Just jump
and
straight in the deep
4
end.
girls.
Oh.
It was a wild year.
Oh.
But anyway, I learned a lot that year. It was fun. And then I went back 4 years ago and got my master's in reading.
That's awesome. I have a deep appreciation for every teacher who's ever taught my child to read, all 4 of them.
So you've taken psychology classes, you've worked in insurance, you've taught, and now you have a master's in reading. I'm so impressed.
Just well-founded.
What a background.
So tell our listeners a couple of favorite classroom stories, maybe a fun memory, a special memory, or a funny memory.
Well, I love how kids love each other and support each other. And that's been a truly unique experience in the classroom, just to see them love and support each other. So one of my favorite memories is I had a special needs student. And so his goals were a lot different than the other kids' goals. But one day it was his goal was working on his handwriting at this point, and he mastered that goal, and I was so proud of him. But before I could celebrate him, all my kids stood up, and he had this certain signature move that he would do when he was excited, and my whole class started doing his signature move
Oh, my word.
in celebration of his accomplishment. And it was the most precious, most genuine, pure moment. And I get moments like that all the time. I was actually Emma's teacher too, and I'm going to share something about Emma. I hope y'all don't mind.
I think I know this story.
You know this story. But I had Emma in first grade, and I was reading this book. It's called Martin's Big Words, and it just tells about segregation. And so I'm reading about it, and Emma gets these huge tears in her eyes, and she just starts looking around the carpet at all the children around her, and I can see the wheels turning. And she's thinking, I wouldn't have been here with them. And 2, she had the background to know that God loves all of these children. And it was just, she could not fathom that ever having happened. And it just broke her little heart.
I know.
And I'll never forget that.
Yes.
And one more thing that I remember, the COVID year sticks out. When we found out in April that we left at spring break, it was going to be a couple weeks, and then we would go back to school.
2 weeks to slow the curve.
Weeks, and in April, we found out we wouldn't be going back. And I knew my kids, at that time I was teaching first grade, and I knew that my kids were going to be really confused and scared. And so Jimmy, being the wonderful husband he was, put me in his truck the very next day, and we drove. It took us 2 days to do this. I drove to every kid's house, and they came outside, and I hollered at them from the truck, and we talked and had a little conversation. I just wanted them to know that I loved them, and I was thinking about them, and that it was going to be okay, that it was just going to look different for a little bit.
Oh, I love that.
I'll always remember that.
That reminds me, Vaughn had Miss Booth, another precious cornerstone teacher that we love so much, and she mailed little popsicle sticks with her picture on them, and I used mine like an elf on the shelf. I called it Booth in the roof, and we would move it around the house and be like, Miss Booth's watching you. I don't know. I know she's going to hear this podcast, so
I remember
we love you,
Vaughn
Kristen.
and Max having the birthday party there.
Yeah,
Into
the
March,
drive-by
1st of April.
birthday party.
And it's like a drive-by parade. And I remember Miss Booth coming by. Her car,
So
and everybody waved.
As an elementary teacher, how do you see your role in the grand scheme of all your students' education? You've been a kindergarten, first and second. Have you done any other grade levels?
No.
So how do you see your role in those primitive years in the grand scheme?
Well, I wear a lot of hats. teacher, of course, but I feel like I'm the captain of the ship, the nurturer, the problem solver, the cheerleader, the nurse, the therapist.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just standing up there and delivering
Right.
lessons. You've got to reach each one of them and connect with how they learn so they feel seen and valued and capable of success. So beyond the academics, I just really want to help them grow into kind and responsible and compassionate people. That is
Yes.
my true goal. And I tell my kids, every group of kids I have, I tell them, if I haven't taught you anything else, I hope I've taught you to be kind. Because at the end of the day, those are the things that stick with them and shape who they become. So I hope that in the grand scheme of everything, that I'm influencing them to be good humans and to be kind and loving and respectful.
That's awesome. I think that's a wonderful thing, and I feel like that was true of my first and second grade teachers. I feel like they helped a lot in me understanding who I was as a person. So next question: what is education's from your seat? What is their biggest flex right now? Like, what is something that's going really well in the education world?
Well, this is kind of like a biggest flex for me personally.
Yeah.
It's just something that's working for me and other teachers right now. And it's kind of funny. I'm not a fan of all social media platforms all the time, but there are some good things. So I have a sister friend that calls it TikTok University. But there are so many good teachers on TikTok that share what they do, strategies they use, resources they use. And on top of that, they're just get on there and provide a little bit of humor that we can relate to, that we sometimes just need to go home at
for
the end of the
sure.
day and veg out on the TikTok and laugh at the other teachers. But really and truly, it's nice to have this community of other teachers all across everywhere that can, you can ping ideas off of and
Yeah.
it's just really neat. I mean, there's resources, of course, online, and that's another huge flex for education is just being able to find whatever you need to teach a lesson pretty instantly.
That's awesome. I would also offer something for education as a flex right now is how far we've come with the dyslexia and the reading situation. I feel like we are able to identify, diagnose, and correct so much better than we have been in even just 10 years ago. I think in the last 10 years, the reading science has come a long way.
Yes.
And so I got excited when you said that your master's was in reading.
Yes.
Okay, so not everything is wonderful, though, as in any career. So, what is a frustration that you have in education at this moment?
I have a fixer mentality, and I think that's just natural for a lot of teachers, a lot of educators.
Sure.
We want to help, we want to fix, we want to solve problems, we want to carry our students across every hurdle. But I've learned that you cannot, no matter how much I care or how hard I try, I I can pour 1,000% of myself into it, but I can't be the only one invested in my kiddo's success. There's got to be some intrinsic motivation. There's got to be some people at home that rally around them. There's got to be other support staff in the school that are rallying around them and making them feel valued. They've got to have that solid support system.
Yeah.
And then another really big frustration is the pressure that comes with standardized testing.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's disheartening to have your effectiveness as a teacher judged by a test that a single kid has taken on a single day in their life, because it doesn't capture all the growth and the effort
Right.
and the resilience that our students show us every day in the classroom. And another frustration, I feel like my frustration list is long, but as a teacher, and I'm sure that you can attest to this, you're always on. Like from 7:25 to 3:30, I am on. No matter what's going on in my personal life, I'm in teacher mode. So the mental and emotional load of that is huge.
Yes.
And sometimes it feels isolating, really. And early in my career, I let that weight spill over into my family and everything. So I had to learn really quickly the importance of setting boundaries.
Leave school at school.
Yes. And so now, like my communications tools that I communicate with parents, they're on from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. But after that, they go to quiet hours. My parents know that. They get a notification if they try to message me that it's quiet hours, because we can't pour from an empty cup. And our families, our health, our peace, they matter. And if we protect those things, it's going to make us a better teacher.
Yeah. And that's true for any career.
Yes.
Protect your time, your personal time.
Yes.
So, moving into the last question, where has your role as a teacher allowed you to have a unique impact for the kingdom that maybe other careers cannot?
Jesus said in Matthew, unless you turn and become like children, you'll never enter the kingdom of heaven. And children are just natural believers, and their hearts are open. Their faith is simple. Their curiosity is pure. Their love's pure. And they remind me of that verse daily. And I've found that just having small moments with them can open the door to much deeper connections. Whether I tell a student that I'm praying for them, or I'm sharing Jesus' love through my actions or through kindness and patience, things like that. I pray every day that they see Jesus in me. And through that, I get to plant little seeds of faith. And I might not get to see those seeds grow, but I trust God's watering them and growing them. And I was... in the mornings, a lot of times I'm listening to sermons and things like that before I go to school for that reason.
Yeah.
And I remember
Important.
One morning I was listening, and it's this in the sermon he was talking about. Confucius said that if you choose a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And then he said, but that's not entirely true. We're called to do our work for the glory of God. And that really stuck with me, because there are so many days that, if I were being honest, I may not feel like I love teaching.
Yeah.
And I may not even like it in the moment, but I'm trying so hard to do it for the glory of God, because I know that's what he called me to do. And I know that my purpose is way bigger than the academics. I feel like the difference I can make can go beyond that for his kingdom and his glory.
Oh, yes, it absolutely can. I love your statement about the planting seeds. I totally agree with that. I was nervous probably my first 2 or 3 years in school to really openly talk about, church or the Lord or anything religious related, because I didn't want to overstep, because we have a lot of rules. There are so many, places of red tape. But the longer I taught, the more I just felt, I guess, liberty to. I'd have prayer for students. We would have prayer in class. Not that wasn't the focal point, but if it needed to happen, I was not afraid to let it happen.
Right.
But something early on in my teaching career that kind of gave me a little bit of a confidence and realized that this is a calling, and you do have instincts and you can lean into them. I feel like it was my second year at Harmony Grove. And I had this one particular class. It's Algebra 2, it's upper level math. It's difficult. And I had this group of boys in one, and they were rough. They were rowdy. They were loud. They didn't care about Algebra 2, but I had identified one of them, and I felt I hadn't been teaching very long, but I just felt like he was different than the rest of them, and he knew a lot more about mathematics than he was letting on. So I made the call. I went to the office. We pulled him out of that class, away from his buddies, and put him into a pre-AP Algebra 2 class. And he was mad. He didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. But we'll call him Sam, on his first test that he took in that pre-AP Algebra 2 class, I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had to win him back over. It was going to be a very long year. And so I just wrote him a note at the top of his test. He made a B on it, I think. I said, Sam, you are so smart. I am so glad that you moved to my pre-AP Algebra 2 class. And from that day on, I noticed his name started appearing in AB Honor Roll. I noticed just his friend group changing. I noticed that at graduation a couple years later, He had a lot of cords and stuff around his neck, and
Wow.
I'm not taking all the credit for him, but I followed my instincts, and I know that if he had continued into that one class with that particular group, that it would have been a very different outcome for my class. And I remember I watched him as he read my note. I placed the test on his desk face down, and when he turned it over, you could see the emotion. It hit him. And I don't say that to pat myself on the back, but I just realized in that day, this is a calling, and I do have instincts, and the Lord has put me here because I believe that note, as simple as it was, made a difference for that boy. He was
Absolutely.
very low socioeconomic, probably had a heartbreaking story behind. He had a physical disability too, but I heard that he graduated from actually the school I teach at now as a welder. And so I hope wherever he is, he's doing really well, and that he had an Algebra 2 teacher that really, really believed in him. So we are almost to May. We're wrapping up this podcast, and May is Teacher Appreciation Month. So I want to say this. Appreciate your kids' teachers, especially the ones who taught them to read, because reading is such a gift.
Absolutely.
And pray for educators in your schools. If you don't have kids, still, when you drive by a school in your community, just pray over those educators and those support staff. Pray over Sunday school teachers in your church. We need educators, and we need godly ones.
It's absolutely right. We are praying for our schools and be in prayer for the teachers. And I certainly want to say I appreciate each of you today. I know both of you are educators, the college setting, elementary setting. And I want to thank you both for investing into your careers, your calling to be a teacher. I really think it's a calling for the best teachers that do it so well. It's a calling. And Miss Massey, you had Emma, you had Vaughn. I think you got to skip Max, but
I did.
Chance you might have Jet.
I was so
next
excited.
year.
Jet told me the other day. He said, "I hope." But and it really, and my heart just swelled because that was the first time he told me that. So he hoped he was in my class. And I'll take a Shelton any day.
Well, we're working on following directions. I'll give you a heads up.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
he's going to finish
we'll
first
tackle
grade
that.
strong, and he'll be hopefully coming to second grade next year.
Yes.
But thank you for loving and teaching our kids.
Absolutely.
There was a couple of months during the COVID that we were stressed having to teach them. So
Yeah.
we are thankful for our teachers. We are thankful for godly teachers in our school system. And I know it's not an easy job, but what you do matters. And we appreciate both of you. We're praying for you, praying for all of our schools. And we have great schools.
Yes.
We have a great school
We
system.
do.
Any final thoughts from either of you? Something we didn't discuss?
Well,
wanna
it
hit
is
on?
testing season, so it's a tough time for teachers. So when you're praying, and pray specifically for those students taking those tests. If you're a parent, get your kids a good breakfast and a good night's sleep. It's very important. So yeah, extra prayers for the tests.
Absolutely. And you said May is Teacher Appreciation Month.
Yes.
You don't have to wait till May. Go ahead and buy some chocolate, whatever you can do. Find out their favorites.
Good
and,
plan.
Get May started early.
Yes.
So, Jessica, we're we said it earlier, thankful you're part of our church, and you're a great teacher. And we have several great teachers
Yes, we do.
in our church, and we're thankful for each of you, and so thankful for what you do. And to all of you out there listening, thank you for listening. We hope you have enjoyed all things education.
Yes.
And with that, all good things must come to an end.
Thank you for being with us today. God bless you.